I'm Tanushree and I'm working in the capacity of TGT English in the government of Delhi. I joined Delhi government in 2011, but before that also I was into teaching. I was teaching primary students in the MCD schools. So in 2011 it was a transition from the primary students to the secondary students. But then I think I've been enjoying teaching ever since I got into this secondary school teaching, because I think primary school students are really hard to handle, and it's really difficult to handle them. And after I left that job, there was a transition. I have more respect for primary school teachers. People just assume that they're just teaching young kids and there's not much to do. But I think the kind of patience they require is really commendable. I mean, I do not have that kind of patience anymore to handle 40, 50 small kids in a classroom.
What is your, like, since you've been teaching for a very long time, what is your most favorite part about teaching?
My most favorite part is the interaction with students. I love to interact with people. Personally, I love to know about various cultures. If I'm visiting some place, then I would love to walk on the roads to know the culture firsthand. So interaction for me was the key, when I joined this teaching profession. And also we know that they are plastic, they can be molded in whichever way we want them to. And especially since I'm a language teacher, I know that whatever I'm speaking, they are conditionally or unconditionally, they are imbibing that. And somewhere in their life, they are going to pronounce that word similar to me, the way I am pronouncing. So I did this experiment in my class. These students, they're first generation English learners. So mostly the teaching in English which happens in our schools is like we mix Hindi and English. So if we have to teach them a concept, it's mostly in Hindi, and then they have to learn that and then translate it in English. So what I did, I told my students that I'll be talking to you in English only, and you have to talk to me in English only for the entire 40 minutes duration. So I thought that maybe they'll keep quiet, they will not ask me much because they'll hesitate. But you will not believe, in those 40 minutes, each and every student spoke in whatever broken language they knew. And I was so happy, and in the end I asked them, did you enjoy today's class? And they said yes, and we want this trend to continue.
Very nice. Your most favorite part about being a teacher, you said you enjoyed getting the children to speak in English consistently. So do you still continue that pattern?
I do, but since I'm not into active teaching nowadays, because I joined core academic unit, and here the work profile is a little bit different. We're not into active teaching anymore. So we prepare content, we prepare assessment material, so it's a different profile than teaching. But whenever I get a chance to go and teach in a classroom, I always use the language which I'm teaching in. Like if it's English, since I'm an English teacher, so I always try and speak as much as I can in English, because that is how they learn. And that is how we learned our mother tongue, by listening. Like we had the beautiful session yesterday about how we learn the language. So I wholeheartedly follow that principle that, the more you will listen, the more you will learn. So I, always tell my children that always, you should watch Hindi news, English news and English movies. And do not ever hesitate to speak in a language because you feel that you will be wrong in any way. So now they are becoming comfortable and they speak to me in English most of the time.
Very nice. And speaking of most favorite part, can we switch to what is your least favorite part about teaching?
Not just mine, I think the entire teaching fraternity who's associated with, with the government departments. I think we have to do a lot of administrative work also, which kind of pulls us back if we want to take, we want to plan something elaborately about the teaching learning process. And there are certain restrictions and, those limitations. Sometimes like let's take an example that we have made a lesson plan on something, and then suddenly there is this direction that you have to do this work because it has to be done in a stipulated time and you have to submit it in that time. So we would then leave that work, the teaching learning process, and then we would be doing the other work. So and lots of other things, lots of administrative work is still being done by a lot of teachers, which I think is a hindrance to the actual teaching learning which should be taking place.
Got it. And a lot of times we've been hearing in the news all these ASR surveys about the poor academic outcomes for the children of India, right? So in a capacity of a government teacher, what can you do, or rather what are the challenges in able to achieve better academic outcomes?
What I learned here, I think if we can replicate it in our schools, although I don't have that capacity to, implement it in our schools, but I can certainly put forward my views, is that a lot of peer learning is happening here. And the teacher's role is limited to a facilitator's role. So if we can implement, although we are doing it, we are teaching our students to, do group learning, and we form groups in our schools, but not everywhere it's happening. So I think if it comes into a in on pen and paper that this needs to be done, I think everyone will get a push, and they will switch from the usual classroom teaching, which happens when a teacher is giving a lecture and all the students are sitting like this and just listening. So and I think teachers should have the liberty to organize the teaching in a way he or she is comfortable in. And if he wants that, I need to take out my students to the the park or the some assembly area other than the classroom where the students would feel more comfortable, I think the teacher should have that liberty. Yeah.
So let's say you were, the ultimate decision maker in this country, the Prime Minister of India. What would you do? Like, if there was one thing that you would like to do for the education system, what would that be?
The first thing is I would abolish all the administrative work, and would designate all the clerical work should be done by that staff which is designated for that work. And if we are left to do only teaching work, then I think it would be more beneficial for everyone, I think.
Got it. And having visited, this campus and been here for 3 days, what do you think you can take away and replicate more easily, given the circumstances, given the restrictions that you have? What do you think you can replicate?
I think peer learning, which is already happening, we can extend it a bit forward, and it can be replicated in a very good way, because the cascade learning which is happening here, like 10 students who know the best, they are teaching students who are a little slow learners, and then like this. So these kind of things are already happening, but not on a very large scale, I would say. But this thing can definitely be replicated in a better way.
Okay. And do you see any challenges or like some first steps that you need to take to start this peer learning process?
Like I said, it's already happening, but there are some practical issues. Like the period is just 40 minutes, and in those 40 minutes, if you want the children to be sitting in a group formation, then you have to arrange the furniture in a certain way. So that will require 10 minutes, and then to put them back again will require 10 minutes. So that then the teaching time is limited to just 20 minutes. So such kind of constraints, I think, stops some teachers to perform such activities in the classroom.
There was a sir when I was growing up, chemistry lecturer. He would come and arrange furniture for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Every class, and then only 20 minutes he would teach us.
Yeah.
I can only imagine if he got kids to arrange or rearrange furniture,
Yeah.
right? And also, having been here,
I would like to add something.
Yeah, please.
Children in our schools are not allowed to do any kind of other work than the teaching learning process. As in, I'm talking about, like they are doing a lot of co-curricular activities like cleaning, brooming, mopping, some mechanical work also, farming, all of these things. But in our schools, they're not allowed to do certain things because, like, I do not know what it is associated with, but it is not allowed in our schools, which I think can be replicated in our schools. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I used to clean my classroom when everybody, all the students would go to the assembly, and on a roster basis, duties would be allotted. 2 students would stay in the class and they would clean it, with a broom. And I think it inculcated some habit that this is not some menial work, or this is not something demeaning. And children nowadays don't do it. I mean, so I think this should be, this part should be incorporated.
Yeah, I think they'll be more grounded. Like
Yeah.
today, there were 2 children cleaning the bathrooms
Yeah.
as we were taking a shower and leaving out.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just thinking, I don't know what's going on in their head.
Right.
While they must be thinking these guests have come and now we have to clean it.
Yeah.
Or probably because they're used to it, they feel like it's part of their,
Right, right.
daily routine, and they have to
When
do
I
it.
entered my room, a girl was mopping the floor. So
Correct.
I was feeling a little awkward that, there are little kids in there, but they were doing it like it's a regular job for them.
Right. It's nice to see what you have, but is there anything else that we can improve, or you think we should have included as part of this 3-day workshop here? So you could have gotten more out of your visit.
I think it was very well planned. The itinerary was very well planned, and it included most of the things. I think a session on classroom management, as in how to manage. There are some learners who are problem creators in the class. How to manage those students, and if there are certain strategies to manage them. That would have been better, I think.